All right, so last video talked about Article 1 of the Constitution, which was the legislative branch. Today we're going to talk about Article 2 through 7. They get a little bit shorter as each one goes on. So again, Article 2 is going to be the executive branch, or deals with the executive branch. Again, they have this brand new government, and they're going to have 3 branches. So now they have this second article that deals with the executive branch. So Section 1 talks about the president. His term of office, which is 4 years. His qualifications. Again, you have an age, a citizenship, and a residency qualification here. Much similar like the House and Senate, but a little bit different. So the age to be president is 35 years old. Citizenship is you have to be a natural born citizen. Not a citizen for 7 years or 9 years, but you have to be a natural born citizen. That means you have to have been born in the United States. One of your parents has to be a citizen already, or you could have also been born in the U.S. Embassy. You could be born on a United States ship, Navy ship of some sort. Those are all natural born citizens. And then you have to be a resident of the country for 14 straight years. So 35 years old, natural born citizen, and a 14-year resident. Again, they kind of want you to be here. Maybe you're an ambassador over in Spain or something for 15 years. They want you to be back in the United States for 14 years so that you kind of know what's going on in the nation. Section 1 also talks about compensation. The salary for the president is not much. It's only about $400,000. And, that's something that they don't want the presidency to be something where you get rich off of. They want you to do it because it's a public service job. So a big one there is the term of office for 4 years and the age, citizenship, and residency qualifications there. Section 2 talks about the commander-in-chief in charge of the armed forces. Clemency powers, this is the powers to pardon or reprieve. Basically, he can forgive somebody for their crimes. That's be pardoning them. Okay. Section 3 says the president receives ambassadors. And Section 4 says the president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. President Donald Trump was impeached last year, and he was found not guilty in the Senate, but the House did bring the impeachment charges against him, so therefore we always say he has been impeached. He was just not found guilty. All right, Section 3 deals with the judicial branch. Section 1 talks about the power. The inferior courts may be established. The tenure, 10 years length of service. Once they are put on the Supreme Court, they are there for a lifetime. They cannot be removed by another president. They can only leave the Supreme Court if they resign themselves, if they are impeached, or if they die, they pass away. Okay? That's why it's such a big deal that President Trump is trying to pass Amy Barrett into the judicial branch so quick. That would give him 3 nominees on the judicial branch. It would be a pretty powerful thing to do for a president. She'd be on there for life. So that's a pretty big deal, without a doubt. It's a big checks and balance in our government. Section 2 talks about jurisdiction, and a big one here, Section 3, treason is defined here. Treason is defined as aiding the enemy. Aiding the enemy. Okay? So Article 3, Section 3 is where we find treason being defined. All right, Article 4 deals with state relations. First one's a big one, talks about the full faith and credit clause. This basically says that each state has to recognize the other laws of other states. Therefore, that is why that same-sex marriage is a big one on this one, where other states have to recognize that if a same-sex couple gets married in Iowa, because we have that law that it's okay, that if they get married here, they can go back to their original state and they'll be identified as a married couple. So full faith and credit clause is a big one there in Section 1. Section 2 talks about citizen privileges, but more importantly, it talks about extradition or to extradite. That means if you did a crime here in Iowa and you fled to Florida, Iowa could extradite you back from Florida to Iowa to face your punishment here. Section 3 talks about the admission procedures for states, and Section 4 talks about the protection by the national government. So Section 1 is really the big one you want to know here, and also extradition. It's a big one there. All right, Article 5 is provision for amendments. There's quite a bit on this one just because it's kind of confusing. So there's two ways to amend the Constitution. Informally, through the court's interpretations, is the first way. Okay, so the court's going to look at different things and they're going to interpret things about the laws, and that's how they can amend the Constitution informally. Okay? Formally, it takes a two-step process. You have a proposal process and then a ratification process. And within the proposal process, you have two ways that you can do this. First way is Congress, 2/3 vote of each house. Or you can have a national convention called by Congress. That's never been done. So the national convention called by Congress has never been done. The Congress, 2/3 vote of each house would be the first way to propose an amendment. So maybe, for example, we want to have an amendment on making flag burning unconstitutional or illegal. It has to be voted and passed 2/3 of the vote in each house, the House and the Senate. In fact, that has happened before, not the Senate, but it's passed the House by a 2/3 vote, but that same amendment gets to the Senate and it is then voted down. It does not get the 2/3 vote of each house. So that's the way you would propose it. Step 1 is proposal. Step 2 then is ratification. How do you ratify? How do you pass this? Well, there's two separate ways here to do this. Congress decides which of these two ways it's going to happen. As you see, a state legislature vote in 3/4 of the states is the most common. So that's happened for 26 of our 27 amendments. State legislature in 3/4 of the states. That usually takes about 7 years for that to happen. 3/4 of the states be 38 states. Or Congress can decide to have conventions in 3/4 of the states. Only the 21st Amendment, which dealt with prohibition, like repealing a prohibition, that's the only one that has been done that way. So again, two-step process. First one is how to propose it. Congress, 2/3 vote of each house is the most common. How do you ratify it then is step 2, state legislature in 3/4 of the states. So again, if you have that example of a flag burning amendment, let's say it does pass the House and the Senate and it goes to ratification, Congress would then decide which of these two processes to use to get it ratified. Probably the state legislature in 3/4 of the states to pass it, or it could have been the conventions in 3/4 of the states. So that is how the proposals and the ratification happens with amendments. Now remember, one of the big problems with the Articles of Confederation was the fact that it was not easy to amend. Okay, you had to have 9 of 13 votes to change things. All 13 votes to actually amend things and to change the whole articles. But so the founding fathers did a great job of kind of having this idea that, hey, these are going to happen. We're going to have changes. So here's the process to make this change. A little bit easier. It's still difficult, but it's at least a little bit easier to do than it was in the Articles of Confederation. So once again, great foresight by our founding fathers to have this idea going forward. Article 6 and 7 here. So Article 6 talks about the national debt and supremacy. Basically, Section 1 said that it validates the debts of the old government. Where you're going to have, we recognize these old debts from the Articles of Confederation in the Revolutionary War, and then we'll have to accept these. Section 2 is a big one here. Make sure you know this one. It's the supremacy clause. This makes the supreme law of the land. So this says the Constitution is the supreme law. If there's ever a contradictory law from a state that goes along with the constitutional law here, then the federal Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It would outdo the state law. And then Section 3 talks about officers are bound by an oath. And then Article 7, pretty simple, talks about ratification of the Constitution. Just talks about how the ratification process is going to work, and that is the establishment of the Constitution. So in that sense, there are your 7 articles. Article 1 was, we did the other day, first video, and this goes through Articles 2 through 7. Again, a lot of key points that we need to talk about here with this. Again, I want to make sure that maybe you go back through and look at several of these things. Make sure you know the qualifications for the House, the Senate, the President. Those are big things. How long they serve. I want you to know the pocket veto. Congress overrides the 2/3 veto, where the powers of Congress are listed, what a writ of habeas corpus is, ex post facto law, bill of attainder. Make sure you know what those are. Again, president qualifications. Make sure you know the treason, where that's at. Article 4, Section 1, the full faith and credit clause. Make sure you know that. And supremacy clause there at the end is also a big one as well. So that concludes the basis articles of the Constitution already. And then next video we're going to start talking about will be the amendments that deal with the Constitution.